darlings, and welcome to day 12 of the 24 days of Advent Adventure. Well, I'm not doing a ghost story today, or a horror story, or it could be described as an horrific story of our future, when this is set to occur on my timeline. I will be, what did I work it out? Gosh, I will be 68 years old in 2044. It's a cyberpunk written in the vein of William Gibson's Neuromancer, which came out in 1984. Yeah, and I was about 8 years old. So this one, if you haven't already guessed, is Ready Player One. I happened upon this at a local charity stall about a couple of months back, so I've enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was very nostalgic because obviously it's set in the 80s, and I'm Gen X and I absolutely adore anything to do with the 80s because obviously I lived through it and loved it. But Ernest Cline, for your debut novel, and it came out on, I think I wrote it down, the 16th of August 2011. Yep. Gosh, 13 years ago, I was 35. I was just starting out in my current business 13 years ago. What a wild ride it's been. A really wild ride. Anyway, Ready Player One. What can I tell you about Ready Player One? It is truly horrific. If this is what our future is going to look like, then God help us. It really is utterly terrifying. Steven Spielberg did it as a film. I have yet to see it, so I can't tell you what I thought of the film, but I thoroughly enjoyed the book. Oh my goodness me. When James Donovan Halliday dies, yes, he is the creator of Oasis. He dies at 67 years old. Our main protagonist, Wade Watts, this lovely young man at the front, like many others, receives the news and thinks, oh well, never mind, rich dude dies, end of. He can't understand why the media is making such a big deal out of it. I mean, with everything that's going on with the energy crisis, catastrophic weather, certain cities having mushroom clouds appearing above them, cats and dogs living together, anarchy on the streets. Oh my goodness, everything's mass hysteria. Yeah. Famine, poverty, disease, you name it. But the media are solely concentrating on James Donovan Halliday and his death. And for good reason, because James Donovan Halliday has no one left. He has no family, no one who he loves, no one at all to leave his vast fortune, which I believe is $240 billion. By any chalk, that's a lot of wonga. That is serious. And we are rich money. Oh yeah, absolutely. So yes, you can understand why our Wade wants a chunk. I mean, wouldn't you? Living in that? Oh my. That money could do an awful lot of good. Indeed it could. If it falls into the right hands. So, Mr. Halliday leaves little Easter eggs throughout the novel, throughout the story, for the people who play on Oasis to find. And whoever finds all three gets all three keys. Well, yeah, they're going to inherit everything, because that's the name of the game. In order to get the will and fulfill the last will and testament for Mr. Halliday, the person that wins has to have all three keys, the copper one, the jade one, and the crystal one, and they have to have completed the entire video game. And true to form, because Mr. Halliday loved the 80s, that's when he was at his happiest. Well, that's where we end up, in a massive video game set in the 80s. Ready Player One. Indeed. It's fantastic. It is. It's cyberpunk. It's a dystopian future. A word of warning that we might end up going this way if we don't mend our wicked ways. I'll just read you the blurb on the back. It was the year 2045. Oh, was it really? I thought it was 2044. Oh, heck. Well, I'll be 68 then. I'll be 69. Sorry, I'll be 69, dudes. Good God. Do you think I'll live that long? I do hope so. I'd really like to see if this actually happens, or actually pray that it doesn't. Anyway, the year was 2045. Reality is an ugly place. The only time Wade Watts really feels alive is when he's jacked into the OASIS, a vast virtual world where most of humanity spends their days. When the eccentric creator of OASIS dies, he leaves behind a series of fiendish puzzles based on his obsession with pop culture of decades past. Whoever is first to solve them will inherit his vast fortune and control of OASIS itself. When Wade cracks the first clue, suddenly he's beset by rivals who kill to take this prize. The race is on, and the only way to survive is win. There are no losers, there can only be one winner. Yeah. And believe me, there are some skullduggeries going on in this book. Oh my goodness me. There is a group, I think they call themselves the Sixers, more like the Fixers. Anybody that they see as a potential threat, not only will they kill their avatar, they will kill the person as well. And many a player meets a very untimely end due to the Sixers. Now, as the play goes on, Mr. Halliday's one and only friend, the one who hadn't allegedly spoken to him for 10 years, realizes that something is going on and privately contacts Wade Watts in a private chat room. Realizing that he's in danger, sends him and his team, who are trying to crack the computer game, a secret get out. Or is it? Ooh, if you've not read the book, I don't really want to spoil it for you. But is this man genuinely going to be helping them by locating them to a private house? With all the technical equipment that they could possibly need to be able to crack the code? Or is he using them to get his hands on the vast fortune? It's a really well-written, fast-paced book. It's a lot of fun. It's cyberpunk at its finest. It's not on the realms of Neuromancer by William Gibson, but it's fairly good. They do say imitation is the best form of flattery, right? It is a lot of fun. And Wade and his companions go through so much pop culture in this book that you will be absolutely crying with the nostalgia that it will bring you back. It is truly, truly beautiful. And it's a homage, as I say, to William Gibson's Neuromancer. And if you know, you know. If you've read it, you know, you know. Right? So I am going to just read you just a teensy weensy bit from the front of the book. Right? It's page 6 in chapter 1. But it's just a really, really small amount because obviously I don't want to spoil it for you. Let's see, start from the beginning of this chapter bit here. The egg is well hidden. I didn't just leave it lying under a rock somewhere. I suppose you could say that it's locked inside a safe that's buried in a secret room that lies hidden at the centre of a maze located somewhere. He reaches up to tap his right temple, up here. But don't worry, I've left a few clues lying around to get everyone started. And here's the first one. Anorak makes a grand gesture with his right hand, and 3 keys appear, spinning slowly in the air in front of him. They appear to be made of copper, jade, and clear crystal. As the keys continue to spin, Anorak recites a piece of verse, and as he speaks, each line, it appears briefly in flaming subtitles across the bottom of the screen. 3 hidden keys open 3 secret gates, wherein the errant will be tested for worthy traits. And those with the skill to survive these straits will reach the end where the prize awaits. As he finishes, the jade and crystal keys vanish, leaving only the copper key, which now hangs on a chain around Anorak's neck. The camera follows Anorak as he turns and continues farther into the dark cavern. A few seconds later, he arrives at a pair of massive wooden doors set into the cavern's rocky wall. These doors are banded with steel, and there are shields and dragons carved into their surfaces. I couldn't play test this particular game, so I worry that I may have hidden my Easter eggs a little too well. Made it too difficult to reach? I'm not sure. If that's the case, it's too late to change anything now. So I guess we'll see. Anorak throws open the double doors, revealing an immense treasure room filled with piles of glittering gold coins and jewel-encrusted goblets. Then he steps into the open doorway and turns to face the viewer, stretching out his arms to hold open the giant double doors. So without further ado, Anorak announces, let the hunt for Halliday's Easter egg begin. He then vanishes in a flash of light, leaving the viewer to gaze through the open doorway at the glittering mounds of treasure that lay beyond. Then the screen fades to black. At the end of the video, Halliday included a link to his personal website, which had changed drastically on the morning of his death. For over a decade, the only thing posted there had been a short looping animation that showed his avatar, Anorak, sitting in a medieval library, hunched over a scarred work table, mixing potions and poring over dusty spellbooks, with a large painting of a black dragon visible on the wall behind him. But now that animation was gone, and in its place there was a high score list like those that used to appear in old coin-operated video games, Do you remember back in those days? God, I do. I love video games. The list had 10 numbered spots, and each displayed the initials JDH, James Donovan Halliday, followed by a score of 6 zeros. This high score list quickly became to be known as the scoreboard. Just below the scoreboard was an icon that looked like a small leather-bound book, which linked to a free downloadable copy of Anorak's Almanac, a collection of hundreds of Halliday's undated journal entries. The almanac was over 1,000 pages long, but it contained few details about Halliday's personal life or his day-to-day activities. Most of the entries were his stream of consciousness, observations on various classic video games, science fiction and fantasy novels, movies, comic books, and 80s pop culture, mixed with humorous diatribes denouncing everything from organized religion to diet soda. The hunt, as the contest came to be known, quickly wove its way into global culture. Like winning the lottery, finding Halliday's Easter egg became a popular fantasy among adults and children alike. It was a game anyone could play, and at first there seemed to be no right or wrong way to play it. The only thing an almanac seemed to indicate was that a familiarity with Halliday's various obsessions would be essential to finding the egg. This led to a global fascination with 1980s pop culture 50 years after the decade had ended. The movies, music, games, and fashions of the 1980s were all the rage once again. By 2041, spiked hair and acid-wash jeans were back in style, and covers of hit 80s pop songs by contemporary bands dominated the music charts. People who had actually been teenagers in the 1980s, or now approaching old age, had the strange experience of seeing the fads and fashions of their youth embraced and studied by their grandchildren. A new subculture was born, composed of millions of people who now devoted every free moment of their lives to searching for Halliday's egg. At first, these individuals were known simply as egg hunters, but this was quickly truncated into the nickname Gunters. During the first year of the hunt, being a gunter was highly fashionable, and nearly every OASIS user claimed to be one. When the first anniversary of Halliday's death arrived, the fever surrounding the contest began to die down. An entire year had passed, and no one had found anything, not a single key or gate. Part of the problem was the sheer size of OASIS. It contained thousands of simulated worlds where the keys might be hidden, and it could take a gunter years to conduct a thorough search of any one of them. Despite all of the professional gunters who boasted on their blogs that they were getting closer to a breakthrough every day, the truth gradually became apparent. No one really knew exactly what it was they were looking for, or where to start looking for it. Another year passed, and another, still nothing. The general public lost all interest in the contest. People began to assume it was all just an outlandish hoax perpetrated by a rich nut job. Others believed that even if the egg really did exist, no one was ever going to find it. Meanwhile, the OASIS continued to evolve and grow in popularity, protected from takeover attempts and legal challenges by the ironclad terms of Halliday's will, and the army of rabid lawyers he had tasked with administrating his estate. Halliday's Easter egg gradually moved into the realm of urban legend, and the ever-dwindling tribe of Gunters gradually became the object of ridicule. Each year, on the anniversary of Halliday's death, newscasters jokingly reported on their continued lack of progress, and each year more Gunters called it quits, concluding that Halliday had indeed made the egg impossible to find. And another year went by, and another. Then on the evening of February the 11th, 2045, an avatar's name appeared at the top of the scoreboard for the whole world to see. After 5 long years, the copper key had finally been found by an 18-year-old kid living in a trailer park on the outskirts of Oklahoma City. That kid was me. Dozens of books, cartoons, movies, and miniseries have attempted to tell the story of everything that happened next, but every single one of them got it wrong. So I want to set the record straight once and for all. Ready Player One. And off we go on the adventure of a lifetime. Yes, Wade Watts, what have you found? What indeed? I had to do that. I'm sorry, I'm just so childish. I write all my own jokes. So, my darlings, that concludes day 12, the 24 days Advent adventure. Yes. What will we find tomorrow? What? Are we doing this? What are we doing? What? I can't stop myself. I really must. Yes. What will we find tomorrow when we do day 13? But thank you for tuning in for day 12. And I'll say what I always do. Happy readings, darlings, and enjoy. And if you like what I do, you can always give me a thumbs up. And if you really like what I do, you can always give me a follow and come back tomorrow for what? I have to get that in. We might find for day 13. Take care, my darlings. Bye-bye.